On paper, borders look clean. Straight lines, neat shapes, like someone just drew them in with a ruler. But if you step into the real world, that illusion falls apart fast. Some borders cut right through people's homes, some wind through mountains, and a few feel like they were drawn by someone blindfolded. These aren't just lines, they're awkward, absurd, and sometimes totally ridiculous. Here are the top 15 strange country borders that prove geography doesn't always play by the rules. Let's start off with number 15, Vermont and Quebec. There's a library in North America that doesn't care about borders. Not in theory, in reality. The Haskell Free Library sits half in Vermont and the other in Quebec. You walk through the door in the US, but by the time you're browsing books, you're already in Canada. The line runs straight through the reading room like a quiet joke. It was built that way on purpose, a symbol of friendship when walls weren't trending. For locals, it's more than symbolic. Their homes, lives, and families straddle the invisible line daily. A driveway starts in one country and ends in another, but the world's gotten less forgiving. What used to be a casual stroll across the street now involves fences, surveillance, and passports. Even waving to a neighbor feels like a legal gray zone. And yet the library stays open, quiet, defiant. It doesn't ask for permission to exist in two places at once. It just does. But sadly, the ongoing tariff war by Trump may close it soon. Number 14, Mount Everest. Most climbers reaching the top of Everest are too breathless to care, but that summit marks more than just a personal achievement. It's the literal borderline between China and Nepal. On one side, you're in Tibet. On the other side, you're in Nepal. The roof of the world doubles as an international border post, 8,848 meters high and frozen in myth. While climbers face brutally different paths depending on which side they ascend, both routes end in a place where few humans ever stand. In 2020, Nepal and China set aside politics for a rare moment of unity, jointly measuring the mountain's height and announcing a shared update. But the harmony ends with the altimeters, access rules, tourism politics, and environmental stressors all weigh differently on either side. Below the snowline, Sherpas, traders, and herders rely on Everest not as a peak but as a paycheck. From above, Everest doesn't show lines or flags, just rock, snow, and sky. But up close, it's a border, unforgiving, surreal, and absolute. And one day there will be a border on the moon. Number Dresden, Busingen am Hochrhein. Busingen isn't confused about who it is. It's German. But you'll need to drive through Switzerland to reach it. Completely surrounded by Swiss territory, this little town is legally part of Germany, but economically stitched into the Swiss system. It uses Swiss francs, depends on Swiss infrastructure, and even falls under Swiss customs law. So, how did this oddity happen? Blame centuries of land swaps, treaties, and failed votes. In 1918, Busingen actually tried to join Switzerland, but Berlin said no. Since then, it's existed in a state of duality. German by law, Swiss by life. Its residents carry German passports, but rely on Swiss healthcare, banks, and phone lines. Even the mail system runs on two tracks, German and Swiss postal codes side by side. And yet life here is calm. Vineyards line the Rhine, locals bike to Swiss grocery stores, and border signs are more polite suggestions than restrictions. If you look at it from the plane, Busingen looks like a scenic riverside village. On the ground, it's a diplomatic shrug turned real. Number 12. The Gambia. The Gambia looks like a river that decided to become a nation. It stretches thin and narrow, following the Gambia River from the Atlantic coast deep into Senegal, which surrounds it on all sides. This isn't some natural fluke. It's a colonial leftover. The British claimed the riverbanks. The French got everything else. When independence rolled around, that weird shape stuck. The result? A country barely 50 kilometers wide in most places, shaped like a snake slithering through someone else's backyard. Getting from one side of the Gambia to the other often means cutting through Senegal or waiting for a ferry. Attempts at political union flopped. But somehow, the Gambia works. Its people carved out a distinct identity, loud, proud, and full of rhythm. Music pulses through markets, wildlife thrives in reserves, and tourists flock to its coastal sands. On a map, it looks improbable, like a nation built from leftovers, but on the ground, it's full of life, proving that strange borders don't always mean weak foundations. Number 11. Nawa. Nawa is not just a village, it's a riddle in the desert. To get there, you start in the United Arab Emirates, cross into Oman's enclave of Madha, and then within that enter the UAE again. That's Nawa, an exclave of an exclave. A place so complex it makes maps nervous. This strange setup dates back to the mid-20th century when local tribes pledged loyalty to different rulers. One went with Oman, forming Madha. A pocket within stayed loyal to the Emirate of Sharjah, creating Nawa. There are no fences, no checkpoints, no flags. Just winding roads and friendly drivers passing through what looks like a single village, but belongs to two nations. Despite its geopolitical absurdity, life here is low-key. Kids go to school, shops open at sunrise, and the village carries on with a shrug. From the air, it looks like a patch of desert, nothing strange. Just like any other normal place, but add a border overlay, and it becomes one of the world's rarest cartographic oddities, a three-layered puzzle hiding in plain sight. Number 10. India, Bangladesh. Before 2015, the India-Bangladesh border was something out of a geopolitical fever dream. Over 160 enclaves, tiny scraps of land belonging to one country but surrounded by the other. Some of them had counter-enclaves and even third-level enclaves, Indian land inside Bangladesh. No, really, it was like cartography had a nervous breakdown. These bizarre relics were the result of centuries-old land swaps between royal families who treated entire villages like poker chips. The people caught in the middle, forgotten. They lived in legal limbo, no access to basic services, no citizenship that mattered, no easy way out. Crossing your own village could mean crossing a border multiple times. In 2015, a historic agreement finally erased the madness. Both nations swapped territories and gave residents the right to choose their nationality. It was one of the most humane border resolutions in modern history. The enclaves may be gone from maps, but they're etched into memory as proof that borders aren't always about lines. Sometimes they're about the people trapped inside them. Number 9. Point Roberts. Well, you won't believe it, but it's real. Point Roberts is a town that exists because of just a line. When the US and Britain agreed to split territory along the 49th parallel in 1846, nobody looked twice at the map's details. That mistake created Point Roberts, a sliver of American land hanging off the tip of Canada. There's no road to the mainland US, so you have to leave the country, drive through British Columbia, then re-enter America again, just to grab groceries or drop the kids at school. Locals here call it normal, but outsiders say it's absurd. Fewer than 1,000 people live here year-round, but the town swells in summer when Canadian families flood in to escape higher taxes. It's quiet, scenic, and weirdly self-contained. Emergency services, education, and even Amazon deliveries have to work around two international borders. And yet, life rolls on. From above, it looks like a triangle of land dangling off Canada, defying logic. A mistake on paper, now a town with its own rhythm, cross-border quirks and all. Number 8. Jungholz, Austria. Jungholz is part of Austria, but just barely. Technically, it touches the rest of the country at exactly one point, a mountain summit called Swordschrofen. Everything else around it, Germany? The result is a geographic glitch, an Austrian village that functions like a German neighborhood. The odd border dates back to 1342, when a noble family sold this chunk of land to Austrian hands. No one bothered to make it more convenient. Over time, Jungholz became Austrian by law, but German in practice. The roads lead into Bavaria. The phone lines, German. The license plates, often Bavarian too. And yet, the people here vote in Austrian elections, pay Austrian taxes, and teach their kids the Austrian curriculum. It's a border that's technically solid but practically fluid. Winter turns it into a ski destination. Summer brings out cyclists, and every season is steeped in quiet mountain life. As a wise old man once said, "If there's one thing that unites us all, it's our love for separation." Humans love dividing things. Number 7. The no man sits land between Egypt and Sudan. In a world where countries fight over scraps of land, Bur Tawil is the kid no one picks for their team. It's a 2,000 square kilometer patch of desert, sitting awkwardly between Egypt and Sudan, and neither wants to claim it. Why? Because of a century-old cartographic mess. Back in 1899, the British drew a border that gave Bur Tawil to Sudan. But just a few years later, in 1902, they drew another line, this one favoring Egypt. Fast forward to now, Sudan sticks with the 1902 version because it gives them the Halayib Triangle, a much more valuable coastal area. Egypt clings to the 1899 line for the same reason. The result? Bur Tawil is left in limbo, stateless, unwanted, ignored. It's one of the few places on Earth with no official owner. That hasn't stopped random dreamers from trying to turn it into a kingdom or a micronation, but governments laugh them off. Bur Tawil remains what it's always been, a lonely sun-baked glitch in the system. Number 6. The Korean DMZ. The Korean Demilitarized Zone isn't just a border, it's a scar. 4 kilometers wide and 250 kilometers long, slicing the peninsula into two nations that technically never stopped fighting. Established in 1953, after an armistice, the DMZ is heavily fortified on both sides, watched over by soldiers, fences, landmines, and silence. Yet, within this strip of tension, something wild happened. Literally, nature took over. With no cities or human interference, forests returned, wetlands revived, and endangered animals like black bears and cranes began roaming freely. It's now one of Asia's most accidental wildlife sanctuaries. And then there's Panmunjom, the surreal zone where soldiers from both Koreas stand face to face, where high-stakes meetings happen inside blue huts that straddle the border. Not far off, North Korea's fake propaganda village stares emptily at South Korea's real one. But this border is more than military theater. For many Koreans, it's the line that split families frozen decades ago. From space, the DMZ looks like a green ribbon. On the ground, it's grief, hope, and unresolved history, all held in place by silence. Number 5. Kaliningrad. Kaliningrad is Russia, but not quite. We don't know why. It sits wedged between Poland and Lithuania, cut off from the rest of the country it supposedly belongs to. On paper, it's a part of the Russian Federation, but physically, it's a stranger living in Europe's backyard. Once called Königsberg, this was German land for centuries. That changed in 1945, when the Soviet Union took it over after World War II, emptied it of Germans, renamed it, and turned it into a military hub. Today, Kaliningrad still plays that role, housing Russia's Baltic Fleet and serving as a point of strategic tension. But it's not all tanks and tension. Locals sip Polish beer, shop European brands, and stream Western media. It's a bizarre blend. Russian government, European geography, Cold War energy. A place where language, culture, and politics constantly crash into one another. From the sky, Kaliningrad looks like a bite-sized chunk of Russia carved out and marooned in the EU. A Cold War ghost still whispers through modern Europe. Putin will love this. Number 4. Campione d'Italia. Campione d'Italia isn't just a border oddity, it's a bureaucratic identity crisis that's been quietly unfolding for over a century. Officially, it's Italian. But look around and you'd swear it was Swiss. It runs on Swiss power, uses Swiss francs, and its residents cross into actual Italy like they're visiting relatives abroad. This little town is a political orphan, stranded inside the Swiss canton of Ticino, thanks to 19th century treaties that froze an awkward decision in place. Italy owns it, but Switzerland surrounds it. Completely. For years, Campione lived like a smug in-betweener, enjoying Italian citizenship while basking in Swiss-level services. Then the cracks started to show. Taxes got confusing. Postal services broke down. And after Switzerland joined the Schengen zone without Campione, simple travel turned into a border control mess. Today, it's a town where identity isn't just mixed, it's scattered. One street speaks Italian. The next one shops in Swiss supermarkets. Well, we won't lie. It's not unity. It's survival by compromise. Number 3. Barl. You don't visit Barl to understand geography, you visit to watch it fall apart in real time. This town, split between Belgium and the Netherlands, isn't a clean divide. It's a chaotic jigsaw puzzle, with 30-plus enclaves stitched together like someone built it on a dare. Belgian homes trapped inside Dutch ones. Dutch shops are accidentally located inside Belgium. And some houses? Sliced right down the middle. The madness started with medieval lords trading bits of land like monopoly properties. When modern borders came along, nobody wanted to untangle it, so they didn't. Now Barl exists as a functioning paradox. Walk 5 steps, and you've crossed 2 national boundaries. The pavement itself is marked to remind you which country your feet are in. Despite the confusion, locals have figured it out. The postal services work. Cafes know which side they're on, but ask anyone to explain it clearly. Good luck. Barl isn't meant to be understood. It's meant to be lived in, and somehow it works. Now let's talk about number 2. The Wakhan Corridor. Carved like a dagger stretching east through the mountains. The Wakhan Corridor looks like it was added to Afghanistan as an afterthought. It's narrow, just 16 kilometers wide at its tightest, and it runs for over 350 kilometers between Tajikistan, China, and Pakistan. This lonely strip was never designed for convenience. It was drawn by empires. In the 19th century, Britain and Russia were obsessed with not sharing a border, so they created a buffer, a stretch of land neither really wanted but both needed to avoid war. The result? A corridor through some of the most inaccessible terrain on Earth. There are no paved roads and no commercial crossings, just stone huts, yak trails, and villagers who live like their ancestors did, resilient, self-reliant, and far from reach. The far edge touches China, but good luck getting there. It's all jagged rock, altitude, and silence. From above, it looks like a narrow ribbon draped across unforgiving mountains, awkward, improbable, and entirely intentional. Our world is insane. Number 1. Diomede Islands. Only 2.4 miles of icy sea separate the Diomede Islands, but what stands between them is far stranger than water. On one side, Big Diomede belongs to Russia, military only, no civilians, just soldiers and state silence. On the other, Little Diomede is home to about 80 Inupiat residents, part of the U.S., quietly holding on to their traditions in one of the harshest environments imaginable. Between them runs the international date line. It's not just 2 islands in 2 nations, it's 2 days, literally. Big Diomede is always 21 hours ahead of its neighbor. On a clear day, folks on Little Diomede can look out and see tomorrow. No ferries, no casual visits, just 2 distant outposts staring at each other across frozen water, tethered by history and split by time. From above, they look like twin freckles in the Bering Sea. But geopolitically, they're separated by Cold War echoes, ancient land bridges, and a border that never moves, but never really rests either. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you soon in the next one.